start the recording and then share the screen again. So in a situation where you want to delete your file, what can we do? Let's create another asynchronous function. Let's say async function. Let's call it delete file. And our parameter is file name. So in this case, we need to use the onLink, the onLink function, which is also, we have to say await onLink. We still use the one from the fs/promises. Now you remember we have some couple of files here. I want to delete the slx, the Excel file, or let me delete the CSV. If you look at in my system here, I hope you guys can still see it. You have a file called open CSV, open underscore file CSV. So I'm going to copy the name, including the extension. So what I have to put, sorry, making this reusable, so I just call file name here. Okay. Now I can log. What I'm logging now is file name, delete successfully. Okay. Now I'm going to wrap this in a try catch. In case there is an error, we can handle our error. Such errors can terminate the running of your code. You can stop your server, your Node server from running, affecting negatively your application. But if you handle the error like this, it will not be able to stop your application. Rather, the error will be handled the way you want. So here, what we just need to do, we are going to do console.log our delete error. Then we can put the error there. All right, so now let's come down after they were renamed, and then we put delete file. What is the name of the file we are deleting? The one I just copied. So sorry, I think I copied something else after that. So let me just write it. Open file. Type in open file.csv. All right. So if we run our code now, you will discover that this particular file called openfile.csv will no longer be in my system. We'll be able to use our code, Node.js, to delete the file from my system. So what we are executing, we first of all need to go to the folder, which is Node.js. Now I run node files.js. Yeah, now you can see, let's look at if we have our delete. Yeah, look at our code here. Open file CSV deleted successfully. If you look at my project folder here now, you can no longer find the file. It's no longer existing. So, and if it was open before, the IDE is now going to mark it as not exist. It does not exist. All right, so that is it about it. Now I want to comment the line where we are creating the file. Let me comment it so that I want us to look at the error that we, yeah, this is the error we are looking at. Delete error. the file does not exist. So when you are trying to delete a file that does not exist, you are going to have a message like the file does not exist. So now you're looking at no such file or directory. So in our unlink, the file does not exist, so it's creating an error for us. With if not for if we had a working server here and then we didn't do this, it will terminate our server. If we didn't do the try catch block there, it will terminate our server. So anytime you want to delete a file from your project, like people uploaded passport or files they have uploaded to the server, it's no longer important, they want to delete it, you need to call the node unlink function, which is imported from the fs module. In this case, we are importing it directly from fs/promises. We've also seen how to read a file yesterday. Now, I was also telling you that you can move a file from one location to another. Okay, and then when you do that, the first part of the file will no longer be located in where it's supposed to be located. Where it was before, the location is going to change to a different location. So now let's try to create a different function for that. Let's create a function called move file. I'm missing function here, the function keyword. Now we are expecting two parameters, which is, let's say, call it from and to. That is the location where it was before and the current location where we want to send it. Now, for we to be able to do this, we'll be able to utilize the rename function, which is what we did before. When we utilize the rename function, we'll be able to achieve what we are looking at. So what we now need to do is to still say await. Await rename.
Are we not happening in a try catch in a try catch?
Yeah. Let me put that. Okay. Then I call rename and put here from and then to. And that's just it. So we can log something here now and say log 5 move to new location. Let's just test this. You see that one of the things that is very interesting with Node.js, all these function implementation functions we are calling, the implementations are very simple. They are using how to use them are very simple. So you see, we are doing a very complex work, something that can take so many lines of code in so many other platforms. But because of Node.js, how Node.js implemented is using them is very easy. You just need to call the function name and pass the expected parameters, especially when you are using the promise-based functions. If it is the other one with the callback can then make it a little more dirty, make our code look more complex. In such case, like when we do something like this, we now need to specify a callback function here where we can then have error and then results. This is now making our code look more complex. Now we can then begin to do if error here. If error, what we did in the try catch, the catch block, we can then do it here, console.log error. And then see, and then do console.log error, or you do whatever you want to do. Then otherwise, we can then say X, we then do another message, let's say console.log, another message here. So you see that this particular one is a bit more complex and more confusing. It's not as clean as when we are using the promise. In this case, we don't need to put the await here. You now need to rely on your callback to determine whether there is an error or not. Then there won't be need for the try block, because you are already seeing the error is being handled inside the callback. Even if you have the try block here, you are also it's still going to see your error here, although you can throw the error inside here, and then your catch block, another place where your function is being called, can take care of the error. But definitely, this is not as clean as when we just specify a rename and then we pass the parameter. You see that this is more clean and easier to use. So let's come here and rename our one of the files. Let's say move file. Yes, now we are going to rename our, let's look at one of them we have here, files.xlsx. That is the XF file we have. So let me just put the one we are renaming. The name is in the root folder. So with the extension xlxx. Now I want to rename it. First off, I want to create a path. Just in our root folder, I want to create a path called Excel, and then the name of the file is, let's just as a products dot
Sir, are we renaming or are we moving?
xx. Now you use the rename for the moving also. That is just what I want to show you. When you are renaming, the name will change, and if you specify a different location, it will also be executed. You get what I'm saying? Do you understand what I explained about that?
Yes, sir. You said that for one to move a file, you have to use renaming technique to do
Yes,
that.
yes.
Yeah.
All right, let's see if what we have here works or we have an issue. Data has this. Okay, this is files SL. And let me create this folder. I think that the folder doesn't exist, and that could be an issue. Move file. Yes, I've got the file. This file is existing. Okay. So yeah, been able to get our results. So look at the file. The file was here before. If you look at here, we have the file called files.slsx. We have this in the root folder here, but currently there is no such file here again. Now we have moved it to a new location and equally changed the name automatically. So you can now see that we now have products.sls. If you open it, the content of the previous file is what you are going to see. So now we have the file in the new location, and also we are able to give it a new name. So you can use that rename to change the name of the file and also move it to a different folder. So for example, when let's say in your passports folder, people's passport or profile picture, you call the folder profile pictures. And now you just want to call it pictures. You want to rename it to pictures. You can move all the content, you can look through all the files in project folder, and you can just move everything into your new folder and even rename them if you want using that rename function. So it's very helpful for both moving the file to a new location and changing the name. Like in our case now, we're able to do the two things at the same time. Okay, and there is also another function that is also very helpful, which is the copy. So we now can create to copy a file to another one too. And let's say we create another function, and then we call copy file. In this case, we need two parameters also, the from and the to, the one we are copying from. So if you see that the way we are doing this is very consistent. The function, the way to use Node.js functions, especially from this FS module we are treating, you find out that they are very consistent. You just need to still call await copy file. Let's change this name to copy file to another because the one there is copy file. Let's not contradict the function. So we call copy file from FS promises, then we put our from, and then we put our to here, and that's just all. We'll be able to do the copying just with this line of code. We can log a success message. Let's say copy is successful. So if we still come here, we want to copy. Let's come down. I'm looking for, let's look at the one to copy from. Yes, we have files.doc. So let's copy from that, copy file to another. So we are copying files.doc. Then we want to copy to file copy dot x. And you look at this one does not exist. I want us to try if this copy will also be able to create our new file and populate it with the content of the previous file, the file we are copying from. So let's see what we are going to get. Yeah, now let's look at our folder. You look at, we now have the new file copy. Now when we open it, you find out that the content of our file, the file we copied, have been added to it. So we've been able to copy the file from files.doc. Look at, yeah, file.x. Yeah, this is it. We were able to copy everything here into this particular file copy.x. You see that the content are all the same because we just copied everything from the previous file into this new file. And I also show you the file you are copying to. If it doesn't exist, it's going to be created and then populated with the content of the file you are copying from. Yes, any question at this point? These are very easy to use functions. So,
No, sir, no question.
okay. There is also a way to change the
Ah,
permission of a file. Yes.
my question is on the delete.
Okay.
Like, okay, I'm trying to just think. I don't know whether I'm fast forwarding or not. If maybe you have your, let's say you're building a e-commerce site, and you have a shoe, maybe shoe categories, and you don't want this category to be there, so you can use this delete file to remove it from there without deleting it directly from your code.
Yeah, you can use in that case, what you need is the rename because you are just changing the location or the name. So you just need the rename to move it to a new location or change the name. When you do the delete, the unlink is to remove a file permanently from your system. You can't find it again.
Okay, okay, sir.
You've been deleting in your system and the phone. So the exact delete action is what is referred to unlink. It's just that the name is not like your regular delete word in
Okay,
which we are used to. But anytime you see that unlink in Node.js FS module, it's talking about removing it from your file system. when is that unlink means remove, unlink it, link, remove the link of this file, everything about this file from your file system.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. Noted.
Okay. So I guess you've been able to be, you are beginning to see the power of Node.js little by little with all the with our work with the FS module.
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay, I guess you are also finding it interesting.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now the we also have these ones we have been working on is all on files. There are still so many things, some few functions that we haven't treated, but I want to take us our attention to working with folders. Folders are called directories. So when you work with folders, you also have function in the FS module that you can use to work to create folders. You can see in our example when we move the file to Excel folder, we were able to create a folder called Excel. That is Node.js also doing the magic for us. It's creating a folder, create a file, and populate the file. Now, there is specific kind of functions that are peculiar to creating folders, and we are going to treat. We're going to look at it now. And let's look at the function. Let's create our own function called create directory. Anytime you look at directory, it's talking about your regular folder. And when you talk of folder, we are calling it directory. And we are expecting the path. That is where we are want to create this directory. And then you just need to call make directory function. This is it, mk dir. That means make directory. Then you put the path here. Just with this function, our directory has been created. Directory with name, you call the name of your path, and we can has been created. If it doesn't work, we are going to see error. If it fails, we see error. So let's wrap it to the try catch and handle our error. So here we can log our error in create directory. Okay. Now, if we call our function, you see that let's call our function here. And let's just be consistent calling the new one below. So we'll call create directory, and our directory, we are going to call it e-commerce. Yeah, let's create our e-commerce directory. Then we hit right again. Do we have an error? Okay, the error is coming from another function, which is the unlink. The file doesn't exist. You know, we have unlinked it before. So we don't need to call it again. That is what is leading to the error. Let's look at remove. Oh yeah. Oh no, this is rename. Yeah, the delete because it doesn't exist anymore. If we want to, so but let's look at our folder now. You see that we now have our e-commerce folder here. Our e-commerce directory have been created with our code. Now, even if it's a temporary directory you just want to use temporarily, maybe for different operation, you can still create it by still calling make temp directory. There is a function for that also. Now we'll also look at to delete directory. So what we need to do now, we are going to create a function called delete directory to still remove our e-commerce directory. So let's remove directory. So if we come here and then create our function, remove directory, and then we have our path where the directory is, and we call the function arrow m die. From fs promises, you call this, and then you put your path, and then have directory removed successfully. Okay, only this line of code we'll be able to remove our directory. So here we can log error in case there is an error. Okay, so we can test our code now and look at the result. So I come again here and I hit enter. And now we check if our e-commerce directory will be there. Yeah, look at here now. We don't have our e-commerce directory again. It has been removed successfully. So why we are having this error is that they make create directory function is executing, and then because the folder already exists, it's not going to work. That is going to result to error because you cannot create the folder twice. So that is why you have that error. Now the folder does not exist. If we call our function again, we'll also have an error in the remove directory because the directory does not exist. So you can see error in remove directory, the directory does not also exist. So that is it. So you can also check if directory exists first before you remove it. And then if it doesn't exist, then you skip the removing. But this is the one you can use to remove the directory. Now, I've told you that we also have synchronous API for the FS module, but what we have been using in this example is synchronous. So what are the takeaways from this, or the difference between the two? Now, there is a kind of function for the synchronous that is suitable for reading multiple files, which is read file sync. We haven't used that before. Now, all the functions in their various locations, the synchronous and the asynchronous, they are helpful in their own style, and whichever suits your purpose is the one that you are going to use. Now, if you look at the situation where you read multiple files, one after the other, you know that the activity, the operation is actually synchronous. That is, it's one by one. It's something that occurs one after the other. So in such scenario, you may have to benefit from using the synchronous function, like you read file sync, which is going to help you to do the reading of those files one after the other. So that is when you need something to be done, you need things to be done sequentially like that. You we benefit from using the read file sync, and equally that of the other functions like write sync, and if anything that exists within the synchronous functions group. And then I've also shown you handling errors, how you can handle error in the FS module. And it's very simple using the try catch when you are using the asynchronous code, the one from the promises for FS promises. And then I've also shown you that you can use the callback where you get error and result or response from your callback when you are using the synchronous functions. And I've also told you it's very important because just like in this case where the file does not exist, you are having an error. This kind of error can terminate your process. So it's always very recommended to surround your code with a try catch so that you can handle your error in a good way that will ensure that your code is safe and not breaking because of this kind of actions or error that occurs in the result of running your program. Now, in conclusion of our FS module, which we just treated, you need to remember that the FS module, Node.js FS module, has many methods that help you to do different things. It has methods to help you open and read a file, write something to a file, rename a file, change the location of a file, even working with folders. It has all those functions that help you to do different things. And then you can perform various operations, just like I told you, copy, move, using those functions. You can equally do a directory related operation, just like we have done with make directory. You can also do different ones. I think you also have to rename directory. You can see rename function here. This is rename file. You come to rename, you can also see different functions exist within that context. So Node.js have different functions that help you to do different things. And then all of the method can be invoked asynchronously using promises or callback. So whether you use callback or use promises, like in the case of our async and await style, which we use here, you can still be able to invoke those functions and have your results. So as the next thing we are going to look at is the stream module, which will help us to handle streaming of data in our Node.js application. So before we look at something else, before I introduce you into the stream module, if you have a question, you just bring it up. Let's see what we can do. Do you have a question?
I understand everything about the class.
Okay. What about you, Chinedu?
Sir?
Yeah, you have any question at this point?
No, sir.
Okay. So again, the remaining things here, you guys will need to also give some time, do your best, and then try them. As you try them, you have better understanding of these things. Now, when we talk of the stream module, it's a very helpful module also. Now, stream is like a data that comes bit by bit, or data that you can read a little by little. Like if you are reading a file that is very big, imagine reading 5 gig of file, a video file that is 5 gig. You will need 5 gig of your memory to be available for the file so that it can be read into memory at the same time. But with the stream module, you can read that file bit by bit, like 1 MB at a time, 1 MB at a time, and it will not disturb your system. Like platforms like YouTube implement streaming to a very reasonable extent that is very efficient. Like you have been, I'm sure you have heard of the term streaming. Yeah, they're streaming that video or those kind of related terms. When they are talking about those streaming, they are talking about a kind of environment where the video is sent to the user little by little at a time. That is why when you go to places like YouTube, when you are playing a video, you look at if you have a slow network. After some time, say that the thing is spinning, trying to fetch the next batch of data for you. It has finished playing the one it fetched, but the next one that is about to be played is not yet available. So the spinner now starts rolling. But if you have a very good network, most of the time you won't even know that the video you are watching is not downloaded to your system at once. It's being brought in little by little. And those little that scenario is what is now known as streaming. Node.js also provide a set of tools that can help us to read or write to a file little by little. With our FS module, what we have done is that we push everything into a file, like in the case of the write or append. But and when we are also reading, we are reading everything at once. If what we are doing is a very large file, that would be very problematic. Then what we need to do then is to utilize the stream module, which also have similar functions that we find in the FS module. We have functions and a group of functions that help us do reading in different style and the one that help us to do writing to a file in different style. And now that leads us to, now we have understanding of what a stream actually is. Now it leads us to also look at stream more closely. Now in Node.js, there are different stream objects, that provides different functionality for us. In a situation, even when we are calling our HTTP module, our HTTP, when we created a server, create server, all those related activities are also part of streaming. And then if you look at the various type of streams we have in Node.js, the writable stream, we also have the readable stream, we also have the duplex stream. Now, the difference between these three is that the writable stream is help us to write data to a file, a stream of data to a file. Once we create a writable stream, as the data is coming one by one to us, we are also writing it to the file one by one, little by little. Then the readable string help us to read a very large file little by little, just like in the case of I referenced the 5 gig video file. You then begin to read that file bit by bit. The readable stream help us to read that. So while the readable stream help us to create a stream that we read a file little by little, the writable stream create a kind of stream that will write data to a file little by little, bit by bit. So they both work together in different scenarios. In some time, you might not need to create a stream that can both read and write, and that is where the duplex stream become very handy. So the duplex stream is just the combination of these two other streams in the same streaming object that you create. So in that scenario, that duplex string will be able to read and also have the function to write. And then we have the next one called transform. And this is a duplex string that can modify or transform the data as it is written and read from a file. And most of those streams also have some events that help us to work with it more efficiently. With we have the function that help us, events that help us to know when the stream has finished, if there is an error, if there is data, and different kind of event like that. So we'll look at the stream module more closely with practicals and examples as we proceed in our class tomorrow. We have to stop, take care of something else tonight. I guess we have been able to enjoy the little aspect of our introduction to stream and concluding of our FS module. Now, just like FS module, when you are importing the stream module before we go, is imported from stream. That is just like here, you have FS here. So we'll be working on tomorrow, we'll be working on the stream module so we can say equals require and then put stream slash promises. We still have the promises here. So this is where you import. So here now you can create your writable stream. And you can create your readable stream. So tomorrow we'll see them in practical. We'll create different kind of stream. But I just want to show you now, this is where you import it. This is just like a module in Node.js where you find all the stream related code for you to use stream in your code. And then if you have questions in practicing the ones we just did today, you just let me know. But they are very straightforward functions in Node.js that will help you manage files and folders. So we call it a day now, and until we meet again tomorrow. If you have time, just make that time tomorrow to practice and also try to do some read up with the stream module so that you have clearer understanding with as we study it tomorrow.
Thank you.
All right, good
Thank
night,
you, sir.
and we'll meet again.